I want to do some behind the scenes for you guys because I really had a unique privilege to work with these very talented individuals that can make things that they're mind-blowing. When you go to the Ark and you see the different animals, you see the different exhibits, and even here at the museum, the different exhibits, the guys that I work with and the gals that I work with, they did it. Okay, they make those things. We have this one guy named Joel, and I'm going to brag on him, even though he doesn't like when I do, but I'm going to do it anyways. He was hired to be a sketch artist. He worked with my assistant, who's kind of in charge of all things related to the animals. And my assistant would stick his nose in fossil books all day, trying to figure out how big the animal would be. And so Joel was working with him to draw those animals. And then they would take his drawings and they would put them on the computer, and they would make a 3D model based on that, and then they would sculpt these 3D animals, whether they were CNC printed, or carved out on a CNC machine, or whether they were printed on a 3D printer, whatever we were going to do for them. But Joel was a sketch artist. He had never sculpted an animal before. And once he finished all the sketches, they said, "Hey, Joel, do you want to try sculpting an animal? Because we need help on this." And he said, "Yeah, I'll try it." And so he started with this animal called Thylaca smilis. And when he started, it's just this styrofoam frame, and the body was styrofoam, and he's got this rat-like tail, and he's got this really goofy jaw. And I'd go back and look at it, and I thought, that is the dumbest animal I've ever seen. Why are we making this thing? But then he finished it after he put fur on it, and I thought, that is one of the coolest looking animals I've ever seen. That's the first animal he's ever sculpted. Okay, it just kind of gives you the idea of how talented the guys are that I work with. Here's Theosodon. These ones you can see in the Ark. These ones are the entelodonts. They are called Terminator pigs. Fully grown, they'd be about 6 feet tall at the shoulders. You would not want to be in front of them if they were angry. Okay, you would lose. Here's a picture of my favorite one. There's Joel, the one on the left. The one on the right is my favorite. Why? Because that's the one that I sculpted. You can laugh at that. I told you before I can't even draw a stick figure, okay? I didn't really sculpt him. I made like 6 little impressions on his foot, and that's true. I did that, and then I think they went back and fixed it. But just so I could say I sculpted it, or at least had a hand in it. But what is this one? This is it's a Tyrannosaur, that's right. Okay, it's a juvenile T-Rex. We have a lot of fossils of juvenile T-Rexes. We have a good idea of what size they would have been. We don't know if the color pattern was exactly like that, but we have a very good idea of what their size would have been. We have one guy, his name is Greg, that worked on the dioramas quite a bit. In fact, in this diorama, this is the Tower of Babel under construction, and the diorama's under construction. But you can see 1,000 little tiny individuals that were 3D printed and about 300 different animals that were 3D printed. And here's the size and the detail of each of those, that he spent 2 months doing this every single day without a magnifying glass. And like, he can still see straight. His eyes aren't doing this permanently, okay, which you think they would be. But that's the amount of detail he put into it. And here's what it looks like now down at the Ark Encounter. You can see the Tower of Babel under construction before God judged them and confused their language. So I mentioned 3D printing. One of the things we wanted to do, and this provides a much more lifelike character in the dioramas. If you go through the Creation Museum, you look at the dioramas, especially in the flood room, or in the voyage room where the Ark is, you can see the family in there. Those are done the old-fashioned way. You take a lump of clay, you mold it, and it takes you several days to weeks to get it just the way you want it. You put it in the kiln, you fire it, and then you bring it back out, and you got to let it cool down, and then you can paint it. 2 to 3 weeks, you got a character. Now, you build your character on the computer, and you send it to the 3D printer, and you can have one in about a day. You still got to paint it, and depending on how big they are, how quickly they're going to print. But Travis wanted to do something to make them look even more lifelike. So what he did is he made this little turnstile with these LED strips, and you just put the person in there, you have them pose, and then he's holding in his hand, I don't know if you guys can see this. Anybody know what that is? If you have an Xbox at home, you might know. It's called a Kinect. And what it does, it tracks your motions. You don't need a controller in your hand to show that you're throwing a ball. You just do this, and it's tracking it. So as he slowly spins her around, it's creating a 3D scan on the computer that is very lifelike. Then you just go and clean it up. Well, that wasn't fast enough for Travis, and so what he did, and by the way, then you just send it to the 3D printer, and you'd have your character in a little while. So he said, here's what I want to do. I want to bring in this company that has like 74 different cameras, and they set them up in a circle all the way around, and they were at 3 different levels, and they were all hooked up to a computer. So he pressed the one button, all the cameras fired at once, and create this 3D image on the computer. And so the actor just needs to go in, stand in the middle, and you can have the wind blowing on them, fan blowing on them so their hair can flow like Fabio. That's what they did with me. But then the robe can flow, that kind of, it's active. It makes it look active. Well, for one of the dioramas, they needed a giant. Who do you think they called? You guys want to see what I look like when I get back from Florida with my tan? And after I was printed, I looked, and then primed, I looked like that, and today I look like that down in the Ark Encounter on the left side there. You can see me there. So when you go to the Ark, you can say hi to my mini-me. And, people always look at it and say, why are you so mean to that woman? No, guys, she's like a serial killer. I'm the good guy okay? Just remember, I'm the good guy. She's the bad one.